The Crimean War. Britain, France, and Turkey challenged the Russian Bear in Europe's biggest conflict since the fall of Napoleon. This war saw the creation of the Victoria Cross and the coining of the famous phrase, the Thin Red Line. Can the Thin Red Line hold against the Russian hordes today? And what role did Canadians play in the fighting? Not again. Hello, I'm Bruce. Welcome to the basement. Today, our club tackles the Crimean War. 1853, the once mighty Ottoman Empire was the sick man of Europe. Russia decided to take advantage of the Sultan's weakness and invaded Turkey's Balkan territories. They also destroyed the Turkish fleet at the Battle of Sinope. Great Britain, fearing the Russian expansion southwards and possible control of the Dardanelles would threaten her own empire in India, joined the Ottomans and declared war on Russia. France joined Britain and Turkey. The official reason was a dispute with Russia over whose priests would protect the rights of the Christian minorities in the Holy Land. But there is little doubt that the newly crowned emperor, Napoleon III, wanted to emulate his famous uncle's legacy of glory. The Allies decided the most effective way to force Russia to yield was to capture the city of Sebastopol in the Crimea. Although the war was fought in the Baltic, the Caucasus, and the Balkans, as well as the Crimea, the conflict is known, at least in the English-speaking world, as the Crimean War. Our club's game is a fictitious engagement between the British, French, and Russians. This is the battlefield over which our armies are fighting today. The Russians are on the left, and the Allies on the right. The Russians must advance and drive the British off the ridge. The British and their French allies must simply hold the line. The Russians have a large army with which to accomplish their task. In addition to dragoons, they also have the famed Cossacks. Their rock-solid infantry is also present in great numbers on the field, supported by several batteries of artillery. The Russian players today will be Bob and Eric. Here we see the British infantry and artillery deployed for battle along the ridgeline. Their forces include the redoubtable Highland Brigade. Mark will be playing the British in today's game. For cavalry support, the British have the gallant riders of the Heavy Brigade. The British are supported by 3 divisions of French infantry and 1 of cavalry on their left flank, together with copious amounts of artillery. I will be playing the gallant Gallic forces in today's battle. For this reason, I will be speaking with a bad French accent for the rest of the video.
Wait a minute, the British also have me, Nurse Doris Bitingnail.
Ah, Mademoiselle Bitingnail, c'est Lady with the light. Enchantée, ma chérie. May I offer you a glass of cognac? But I thought you were in Constantinople.
I thought I would drop by and see how my boys were doing. No drinks with you, you smooth-talking Frenchman.
Eric and Perry have contrived a cunning plan. Their cavalry and right flank infantry brigades will pin the French and British left, while the bulk of their other 14 infantry brigades will attack the 6 British brigades holding the ridge. Here we see the mighty army of Imperial Russia drawn up in all its glory, ready to die for the Tsar.
Boo hiss, down with the Tsar!
Hey, I'm the Food Dash Over Eats delivery man with your order.
Ah, my chicken Marengo. What's this? Beef Wellington? Idiot. Meanwhile, Bob and Eric advance against the British line, while Bob also moves to pin down the French.
Dude, what are you doing? Playing toy soldiers?
We are not playing. This is a serious tactical reconstruction of the Crimean War.
Dude, are those you what's it now?
Go back and watch this video from the beginning, and join us when you are done. Mark sends the British cavalry to sweep around the Russian flank, in a rather pointless maneuver. C'est magnifique, mais ce n'est pas la guerre. The Russian army lumbers forward, and the guns open up.
Oh, my poor boys are so outnumbered. I'll get my bandages ready.
The soldiers are led, mademoiselle. Perhaps a soldering iron?
Dude, I'm like totally all caught up. But dude, look at all those Russians! That like British line looks like totally thin and red.
British fire begins to tell, but still the Russians advance. The Russian horde slams into the British line.
But this is bloody terrible. I'll take that drink now, General, and make it a double.
So like the British dudes are just standing up there on a hill and like shooting the enemy as they totally come up to it? Seems kind of simple, dude. Does it ever actually work?
Ah yes, it worked. The Russians storm the hill, and the combat rages furiously.
Woohoo! That's it, boys! Shoot him right in the face! Pour me another, General!
But like, dude, why are the British dudes doing all the fighting like totally by themselves? Shouldn't the French dudes like be doing something to help them?
You know, Mark whined about that the whole game too. I was waiting for the right moment, and thinking of Waterloo, Agincourt, Blenheim.
Dude?
Nothing, mon ami, nothing. Fortunately, the Russian army of 1854 was no better than it is today, and with Mark's hot die rolls, the Russians are driven back.
Yay! Rule Britannia, mother!
Dude, so the British totally win? What about like the French dudes?
Now, mon ami, is the perfect time for the French to advance. You can see that with scientific precision, I advance my brigades and position my cuirassiers to sweep down the Russian line as they fall back. A French victory is assured. The Emperor will be pleased. Vive la France! You can see things much better on this map that I have drawn. It clearly shows that the British have barely held the ground with which they started the day, but the army of La France has bravely marched forward to clinch the victory.
Okay, dude, like, well, I've got to, like, make my next delivery, and it's totally an order of burritos to some guys at a place called the Alamo? Wait, is that right?
Well, I'll be off too. I've patched up the British wounded and the Russians too, poor dears. But oh look, the French haven't suffered any losses from all that hard fighting they did. Pour me another one for the road, will you, Governor?
Mais bien sûr, shall we? And now we conclude with a word from Mark for the British perspective on the French victory.
So today we tried a different version of the Age of Valor rules based on an earlier version of somebody's adaptation for the Crimean War. It was British and French, obviously, against the Russians. The Russians had a strong attack trying to break the British center, which held on by its fingernails, inflicting serious losses on the Russian infantry. And by the end of the battle, we had held them off long enough to declare ourselves the victors.
I've had some fun with Doris Bitingnail today, but the real Florence Nightingale pretty much pioneered modern nursing at the British military hospital at Scutari in Turkey. It is said that she and her band of nurses reduced the mortality rate in the hospital from an appalling 42% to only 2%, saving thousands of lives. She is perhaps the true hero of the Crimean War. As a Canadian, I want to mention that a number of Canadians served in the British Army, as well as the Royal Navy, during the Crimean War. The Sebastopol Monument in the old burying ground in Halifax, Nova Scotia, commemorates 2 young Nova Scotians who were killed while storming the Russian redoubts around Sebastopol. Another Nova Scotian, William Hall of HMS Rodney, served ashore with the Naval Brigade at the Battle of Inkerman and at the Siege of Sebastopol. Hull later won the Victoria Cross during the Indian Mutiny, becoming the first black man, the first Nova Scotian, and one of the first sailors to do so. Yet another Nova Scotian, Sir Fenwick Williams, commanded the Turkish garrison during the heroic defense of Kars. Besieged by the Russians, he held out for months and surrendered only after his men had exhausted all their supplies of food and ammunition. Alexander Roberts Dunn of Toronto, Ontario, became the first Canadian to win the Victoria Cross. As a lieutenant in the 11th Hussars, he saved the lives of 2 of his troopers during the charge of the Light Brigade at Balaclava, killing 3 Russians in hand-to-hand combat with an extra-long saber made especially for him. He was amongst the first group of men awarded the Victoria Cross in February 1857. Thanks for joining me in the basement. Until next time, may your dice always roll true.